Hey everybody, my name is Danae. I'm an education specialist here at the Detroit Zoological Society, and we are celebrating and saving wildlife, especially here in our episode series of Be Aware, Not Afraid. In this series, we try to take a look at some of the animals or insects that kind of creep us out and just kind of be a little bit more aware about them, a little bit more empathetic. So if you missed our last few episodes, we talked about wasps, we talked about frogs, and we even glazed over snakes and how they have a ton of bones in their bodies. So this episode, we're going to talk about rats. Now, obviously, we wouldn't necessarily find rats in, an exhibit, but we still want to talk about rats because they kind of creep people out, right? All right, so we have here Mr. Brad. You've seen him at the barn, and you've seen him in Virtual Zoo Talks. Welcome, Mr. Brad.
Thank you, Danae. Thank you. I'm glad to be here today with you and to share my love of rats with all of you.
Would you consider yourself a rat expert?
I wouldn't say a rat expert, but rat enthusiast.
Okay.
With rat expert hopeful.
Okay.
I'm on my way.
All right. So we're just going to start with a couple of questions. The real basic one is about how many rat species do you think we have here?
So I believe rat species in the world. It's about 60, but here in Michigan, the two most common ones we're going to find is the Norway rat and the black rat, or also the Norway rat is also known as the brown rat. Okay. So those are the two main ones we're going to see here in our home. Okay,
and then how big do you think they can get?
The rats that live here, believe from my rat puppet here, from nose to tail, they can get about 18 inches, and that's the Norway rat. And they can get up to a pound. Okay. So it's pretty big. Some of the biggest rats can get up to like 3 pounds, but they don't live here, so no worries.
So everybody thinks that rats only eat garbage. Is that true?
That is not true. They are omnivores, right? So they'll eat a little bit of everything like us. We'll eat plants and meat. Right. But in the wild, they're going to eat like seeds, grains, any sort of invertebrate that they can eat, like worms, snails, insects, things like that. But they are opportunistic feeders. So if they have the opportunity to eat anything, they will. And that's how we find them in trash a lot, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean.
So it's kind of like that New York rat that had that slice of pizza.
Exactly. Pizza rat, world known. And that's the thing, it's right. Pizza's delicious.
It is.
I love pizza. You love pizza. You love pizza. Rats love pizza. It's delicious. So if the opportunity exists to eat some pizza, they're going to take it. But otherwise in the wild, grains, plants, insects.
Okay. What adaptations have they, not occurred, but have they gained in order to live with us?
To survive, yeah. So rats are survivors, right? They're really, really good at surviving in any conditions, pretty much. So they have a really good sense of hearing. For a while, people thought maybe they didn't have the best sense of sight, but they actually have a pretty good sight. They can, solve puzzles with their eyesight, and they have a really, really good sense of smell, and that probably helps them the most. For an example, there's an article out there about this rat that received an award recently. Did you see this?
I don't think so.
No, okay, so a rat won an award because their sense of smell is so good that they've actually started training rats to detect landmines.
Wow.
Yeah, so rats can detect landmines. I can't remember the exact number, but they were able to outperform dogs. No offense, dogs. You guys are great. Keep doing you. But the rats were able to outperform dogs by 30%, 60%, something like that. They're able to detect 60 landmines in the same time a dog could detect 5.
Wow,
right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, this huge drastic change. So their sense of smell is amazing. And that has really helped them seek out food in all different sorts of situations.
Right, okay. So some questions that people might have, one of them is, will they bite you?
Okay, right, will they bite? Rats are like any animal. They will bite you if they feel threatened. Right? So if we are not threatening a rat, if we're not cornering a rat or trying to pick up a rat, it's not going to harm us, right?
Okay.
It's going to go about its business. The biggest thing I like to always say is, usually, they're just as afraid of us as we are of them, right? If we see a rat, and we're like, oh my gosh, the rat's thinking the same thing. He's like, oh my gosh, it's a person, and they're like, it's a rat. And no, you guys are both totally fine. Neither, if you don't harm them, they won't they'll leave you alone.
Okay, so you guys have nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about, yes. Rats are not malicious. They are not trying to seek out people to bite. They're just trying to live their rat lives, you know?
All right, so I guess this is kind of in conjunction with biting. Do they carry diseases?
Okay, and I think this is the biggest. I'm not sure because I'm not afraid of rats. I love them, but I think this is probably the biggest fear that people have, right?
Yeah.
So people are like, oh, that's the I don't want to say the myth, but the misconception I hear the most, right? It's like, oh, rats carry diseases, which is true. They do carry diseases, but so does every animal, right? I mean, people carry diseases, mosquitoes carry diseases, cats carry diseases, dogs carry diseases. And the big way those diseases transmit are from bite, right? Or from like bodily fluids, right?
Okay.
So if we're not picking up wild rats, we're pretty much in the clear. I think the biggest one is the bubonic plague, right? People a lot of times are like, the plague was spread by the rats. And there's still, a lot of research about the plague, and rats definitely helped, but it wasn't rats alone, right? It was rats, people, maybe mosquitoes, right? There's a lot of things that contributed to that, and I feel like these guys have kind of carried the burden of the plague for a while.
Yeah.
Let it go, guys. It's been long enough, okay?
Okay, so how in the world would you keep a rat out of your home, on your home and your yard?
And your yard, okay, yeah. I think this is the other big one, right? So I think rats are survivors. They're really good at surviving, and they can live where in the homes that we create, right? Whether it's cities, even like the suburbs, a farm, whatever it is, like they can live in these areas. So the biggest thing is if you have rats in your area, it's to make your home less appealing to them, right? Because a lot of things that we like pizza, they like too. It attracts them. So big thing is secure your trash, right? If you have like an open trash can, make sure you get a lid. They have a really good sense of smell. Make sure you safely secure it. If you have any companion animals that you might feed outside, or if you're storing any sort of like food outside, like birdseed, make sure all that kind of stuff is secure. Basically any sort of food source, because they are omnivores, they'll eat they'll eat plants, meat, anything like that. Make sure that kind of stuff is put away. Okay. And that's like the biggest thing. Otherwise, just keeping your yard tidy, right? So like mow your grass, cut back any shrubs, anything that like might make a little garden of Nim. I don't know if we're familiar with that book and that movie, but any place that makes a really good place for rats to live, right? We want to try to clear that space up and make our yards less inviting for rats.
That's true. Speaking of companion animals,
yes.
There's another myth about rats eating dog feces.
Yes, I've heard this one a lot, right? I've heard people be like, pick up after your dogs. Rats eat dog feces. And from the research I've done, it seems like the jury's still out on this one a little bit. Okay. Some research has shown that like, yes, they absolutely will eat it. Other research has said like, yeah, they will, but like as a last, that's like on the bottom of their like preferred things. They'd rather eat like everything else before they eat that. So I think it's definitely safe to say like you should clean up after your pets just in case. But if you have rats in your yard, it probably wasn't that attracted them. There's probably other things too, right? There's several factors that probably attracted rats to your house.
All right. Well, I think that's all I got. A couple of random facts. A group of rats is called a mischief. Go figure.
I know, right?
And I heard there was this story out in New Zealand that there were endangered birds eating rats. And the government was like, well, we still need to kind of get rid of these rats. But the people were like, no, keep him. We need to keep the rats. And it's actually very beneficial for those endangered birds because it kind of helps out with keeping their populations high.
So maybe like, rats can be very important, right? To the circle of life.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Brad, for joining us today.
Absolutely, you're welcome.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Be Aware, Not Afraid. I hope you guys learned something new about rats. I know I did. I think that's it for today. I'm going to go home and eat some pizza now.
I am too. I know. I'm really excited for some pizza.
All right, see you later, guys.
Bye, everybody.